Hey, everybody. Welcome to the State of Destination Marketing 2024 Key Learnings to Inform Your Strategy and Plans for 2025. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Christy Jobman. I am the Senior Marketing Manager for our Global Destination Strategy here at Sojern. We are so thrilled to have you here to learn more about what's top of mind for destinations when it comes to digital marketing and trends in 2024 and beyond. So the State of Destination Marketing 2024 report was really a first of its kind based off of a wide survey we did with over 300 plus global destination marketers that we conducted in partnership with the Digital Tourism Think Tank. They helped us to field the survey and develop the report. And then we're very grateful for the collaboration we also had with Brand USA, Destination Canada, and the European Travel Commission. Amazing brands in travel, and we really trust their expertise. So it was fantastic to have them help us field this. And another little fun fact is that this research was the highest viewed report on our website ever. And we are seeing DMOs constantly excited to engage with the content to give them kind of a deeper understanding of what's top of mind from their peers to help shape those strategies and ultimately plan for 2025. So we thought, based on this great engagement, that it'd be a good idea to get you this content in another format, a quick kind of watch versus long read as you're putting those plans in place for next year. So the goal behind this research is really to explore the latest trends and best practices in digital marketing. We did deep dive sections around everything from strategy and performance, the media landscape, data and insights, and then emerging trends. Think, AI and some of the neat stuff that's coming up. We're not going to cover all of this today. We really just kind of cherry picked a few highlights that we thought you'd find really interesting. And then at the end, we'll route you to the report for more information to get a deeper understanding on topics that are really key for your organization. But before we get into it, I did want to give a brief snapshot of some of the survey respondents and the methodology behind this. So I'm really fortunate to have headed up this project on the Sojern side. We fielded the survey from April 2023 through September. And like I mentioned, we got those responses from over 300 DMOs, government departments, and chambers of commerce from around the world to share those insights. Perhaps you were one of them. We hope you were, and you're here today to hear the results. As you can see, the biggest number of respondents came from city and regional organizations at 26% each of the overall pool of respondents. And what's really interesting to note is that more than 40% of these organizations have 10 or fewer employees, in contrast with the 7% that have more than 150. So what this really shows, and I'm sure this is no surprise to a lot of you, is that DMOs are smaller sized organizations. And that could be for a couple of reasons within our research, a changing of the requirements of skills that are needed to be within a DMO, and also the widespread decline in budgets over the past few years. So possibly a combination of both of those or others. And then geographically, this survey did spotlight both North America and Europe, but we also felt it was really important to collect and analyze responses from Central and South America, Africa, Middle East, Asia, and Oceania to provide that more global purview. So I want to pass it over to my friend and colleague, Seth, now to both introduce himself and talk a little bit about Sojern and why we're really the experts to share this knowledge with you today. He really works with customers all day long in one of our biggest markets and has the insights to really understand how destination marketers approach these key opportunities and challenges within digital from a more direct conversation basis. So I thought it would be really great to have some of those great anecdotes he's always sharing with me shared with you today. So I am going to give the floor to him to walk through some of this great data.
Thank you very much, Christy. I appreciate that. So as Christy said, my name is Seth Orozco, and this is going to be the least important slide the whole time that I present because it's about me. So just quick background about me. I started at Sojern back in 2019 on the marketing team. I've spent my entire career in marketing, and now about 2.5 years ago, they convinced me to come to the dark side, and now I'm on the sales side. I love it, and on a day-to-day basis, I manage both destinations and attractions for the Northeast for Sojern. So what we're going to do is kind of dive into, as I work my way through this survey, give you kind of my antidotes and what I see from a day-to-day perspective with my clients. But before we get to that, I kind of want to just do a level set on who Sojern is and what we do for our DMO partners. So at the 10,000 foot view, Sojern is a data company that works on digital media for the travel space. Now, I know that's super kind of a loaded sentence there, so I'll break it down, is that Sojern is a digital marketing company that specializes in travel because of the travel data that we have. We receive this travel data from travel companies all over the world. Think like airlines, hotels, online travel agencies, meta search sites, cruise companies, car rental companies, like you name it. And we have data partners within that area of travel. Now, what we do with that data is what kind of sets us apart. So what this looks like in real time is, let's say you go online and search flights to New York City, you hit enter. If that is a data partner with Sojern, we receive all of the data about that search. So we know who you are, where you're going, where you're coming from, the flights you're looking at, the class, all of the data. And then we utilize that data to understand kind of where you sit in your path to purchase. And then we get in front of you, regardless if you're on a travel site or anywhere on the internet, we will put an ad in front of you to influence for our partners where you go, how you get there, what you do when you're there, and where you stay. So that's a lot about Sojern, but to summarize, we are a digital marketing vendor that helps destinations from a data perspective. And from that data perspective, there's two things that we help. The first is running media. Again, we're serving ads to influence people where they go. The second is to provide data to our DMO partners to help in not only their marketing efforts with Sojern, but all of their other full funnel marketing efforts outside of what we do with them. And part of the data that we provide, that can be campaign-based data, large travel macro trends, or like industry data, which is exactly what the survey is. It's an industry data that we can, again, help us provide our clients with a sense of what's happening and what they can do to help drive tourism to their destination. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into the survey. So like Christy said, we kind of have this lined out in chapters. The first chapter is the media landscape, and then I'll work my way through the other ones. So when we're talking about media landscape, what forms of content, digital channels, and other marketing investments dominate today's priorities for DMOs? So probably to no surprise to anyone listening to this, but social and search dominate paid media. If we're breaking down the numbers here, reading this first column on the left here, 96% of DMOs consider social to be high importance, quickly followed by 95% with SEM, and then 86% for programmatic. So if that's what's important, what's not important. So on the flip side of that, for DMOs that consider low importance from a media perspective, gaming is in low importance, in-app advertising, and then digital audio advertising. So if you can look on the right there, it kind of breaks down all these different avenues of media, paid media that they use, and then how it's sorted by importance. One thing that I want to call out, and something that I see on my day-to-day as I work with my DMO clients, is CTV. CTV is the fourth one from the bottom. I'd be willing to bet as the years go on, as we field this survey, CTV, you're going to see it move up and further and further. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first is there is more CTV inventory ways to watch connected TV than any other day before. And as we move forward, there's more and more ways to do that, which means there's more ad inventory and there's more ways to reach those people. The second, and probably the most important, is tech companies and digital vendors are coming up with amazing ways to show attribution for CTV. Historically, TV has been the most important advertising avenue in the history of modern advertising in the last 120 years. And CTV is the next iteration of that. So it's still going to allow you to get that same scale that you would with TV, but it's going to allow you to track it from a digital sense, which that's super exciting for people like myself as we come out with new ways to show attribution and show that your marketing is working. And then the last thing that, and kind of a key takeaway from this, is it's important to test new channels and stay ahead of the curve. Travel industry in general, we stick to tried and true media. Whatever's been working is what we're going to do. But that also gives you an opportunity as a marketer and a DMO marketer that you can lean into the areas that people aren't necessarily doing and create a competitive advantage for you and your destination. So to further break down kind of this avenue, so since social was important, I felt like it was important to kind of call it out here. So meta is, when I talk about social, I'm talking about meta. When I'm talking about meta, it's crazy that I have to qualify this now, but meta means Facebook and Instagram. And the reason it's the most important and dominates the social channel mix is that second bullet there. So Facebook has 2.9 billion monthly active users and Instagram has 2 billion. I looked this up before. So of the entire planet, there's about 8 billion people on our planet. Of those 8 billion, about 5.3 of them have access to the internet, which means, based on this stat right here, that over 55% of people are active on Facebook in the world and can be reached on a monthly basis. That is a powerful platform if you've ever had one. And then Instagram is a lowly 37, but it shows the power and the breadth of the amount of people that you can reach. And then the second reason that Meta dominates, and this is what I see on a day-to-day, is it allows you to hit the full funnel. So when you run campaigns on Meta, and you want to reach people at the top of the funnel who are at that inspirational stage trying to figure out where they want to go, you can do it on Meta. If you want to run a what I would call a mid-funnel campaign, maybe you've got a new park or a new attraction at your destination, you created a new web page, you want to create awareness of that and get people to learn more about what that is, you can do that on Meta. Or maybe you're looking at a bottom funnel. Maybe you're selling, attractions, events tickets, hotels, like whatever that is. You are selling something for a purchase price and you need to see how much are we spending and how much are we getting on the other side. You can run that campaign on Meta. So it really does allow you to hit that full funnel. And then we come to the 500-pound gorilla in the room, TikTok. TikTok adoption is still growing. The platform's a sensation, but investment hasn't followed suit yet. And that's both from a TikTok standpoint and from a DMO marketing standpoint. So why does TikTok matter? Ask any marketer these days. If you want something to go viral, it has to be in video form, and that's the only form you can do on TikTok. And then, frankly, it has the best algorithms and back-end logic of any probably website in the history of the internet, which is pretty amazing. And they won't share that information with you. So, but it just shows if anyone uses TikTok, do you ever watch one video and then get off there? No. And the reason you don't is because of that algorithm. Now, there is potential for success here with TikTok. So 60% of US travelers stated an increased desire to visit a destination after seeing it on TikTok. And those numbers only increase the lower age brackets you go. So if you are trying to, if it's important for you in your destination to go after millennials and Gen Zers, then you should be on TikTok. And then the last one is, the last section here is DMO opportunity today. So media investment in DMO space is still growing in TikTok. It's only seen as a top 3 social channel by 29% of DMOs. So if you flip that, that means 71% of DMOs do not even see it in their top 3 social channels, which is an opportunity for DMO marketers because you really can reach people at the top of that inspirational stage where they are deciding where they want to travel. And then I didn't say this before, but each one of these chapters, I kind of put away some key takeaways for each chapter. Now, these key takeaways aren't necessarily exactly what we were talking about in the previous slides for that chapter, but it kind of summarizes the report itself and things. I love webinars myself, and I attend a ton of them, but my biggest complaint about them is I listen to it, it's great content, but then there's nothing I can take to my day-to-day job and help me become a better marketer. So that is what I'm attempting to do here with each chapter. So these 3 takeaways for this section are: prioritize clear KPIs. Now that seems pretty like a no duh, but I see this every day with clients is they will apply a KPI on one product and can like, well, because we're using that KPI over here, we should use it on this product as well. And let me tell you, like, that is not the strategy you should use. You should understand what each KPI is measuring within each element of the campaign and make sure that it's measuring and telling you the right data that you need to hear. And then the second one is experiment with new channels. Now, I kind of talked about this with TikTok, so I'll kind of give you my antidote about this one. Is recently I was just at the DI Marketing Summit in Salt Lake City, where Sojern was presenting this study. And the format that we did it there is we brought one of our clients on to kind of give their lens as to, what came out of this study. When we did it there, we hosted it with Brand USA. and their CMO, Stacy Melman, who is an amazing person if you've ever met her, but she had a great answer to this. Someone asked in the crowd, like, how do you experiment with new channels? And she said, she first recognized that she works at Brand USA, which has different problems than other DMOs and typically has more revenue than other DMOs to do this. But she also recognized that, look, if she waited around for her stakeholders to give her money to experiment, budget to experiment, she'd be waiting around forever. So what they do at Brand USA is they look at 100% of their budget and they look at how can we break off 10 to 20% to use in an experimental format to grow from our marketing plan of what we're doing right now and what's working. And then the last one here, the last takeaway is stay up to date. In a digital marketing world, that's what's great about this and why I love it is because it changes and evolves and it's always changing. But staying up with those changes is a challenge. So as a DMO marketer, my thing for you and what you should do is lean on your vendors for this. It's their job to stay up to date. So make sure that they're doing their job and helping you at the same time. Okay, that brings us to our next section here, data and insights. And when we're talking about data insights, it's what role does data play in helping DMOs shape their targeting strategy? So this is a shorter section. And again, you'll kind of see how we're organized through here. So first here, data, combine that. Data is critical to planning. So stages DMOs consider data most valuable. 54% said planning. So when they're looking at building a campaign to run, that's where they're using data and where they think it's most valuable. The second group, 38% said reporting. So when you've done your planning, you ran your campaign, and now you're evaluating it, that's when they say data is most critical. And then only 8% of DMOs said that it's during the execution stage, which I say my 2 cents about this is what's funny is when I read this study, I read it from a lens of, again, a vendor, a digital marketing player, not a DMO. And when I read that question, I was like, well, if this was asked to the vendor side, that 8% would probably be the other side. It would be 92%. Is where we think it's most important. And the reason is because you have to understand, you can do all the planning in the world, but that plan is probably going to change. And if it's changing, you need to understand how it's changing, how much it's changing, and how much you need to change to adapt to it. So my kind of takeaway with this is just DMOs are not maximizing the full potential of data. They're relying mainly on the planning and reporting side, which again, that's needed, and it's absolutely, you should do that, but you really have to lean more into that implementation stage, which is the most important from our point of view. And when I mean implementation, I mean you've got planning before the campaign starts, implementation starts the day the campaign goes live, and then until the day that it ends. And in between that space, how are you using data to optimize your campaign? So let me give you a quick example of how we do this on our side of the world and how you can look at it from your perspective. So I live in the Midwest. I am from Kansas City and I live in Kansas City right now. And I will tell you, every March, between March and May, once a year, it's almost inevitable, some cloud system will make itself over the Rockies and then just smash Kansas City. And I'm looking out my window in April and there's snow on the ground. And when that happens, I will tell you, I'm not unique in this. Me and my fellow Kansas Cityans will immediately get online and find flights to get me to warmer weather. We will start planning right then and there. And when you look at the data on the backside of this happens, let's say you're a DMO marketer and you're not even considering targeting Kansas City and you're a Florida destination. But then all of a sudden, when there's that snowstorm in April and we see a 5,000% increase in searches from Kansas City to Florida, you need to have the ability to recognize that data and then act upon that data. So that's how you can maximize the full potential of data. It's not just about the before and after, it's about the during as well. Okay, and then that brings us to our takeaways for this section. Again, doesn't necessarily apply to what I was just talking about on the previous slide. This is just holistically looking at data insights. The first is collect and analyze first-party data. This is so true, more true than any other day. And the more days we go by, the more this is going to be true. First-party data is gold because as we're moving to a more secure, less identifiable space within tech and the internet, your first party data is what you need to have. You need to find and understand who is your key, who is your number one person that visits or travels to your destination, and then how can you learn from that person? What are the characteristics of that person? And then find those same type of people out in the world that haven't come to your destination yet. The second is invest in data integration tools. I have a large client that I manage, and I talked to them. I said, one day I was like, how many vendors do you work with? Like, how many reports are you getting? And she said 40, over 40, not 14, but 40. So that is an impossible way. If those were all siloed out in their own reports, how are you going to compare and contrast those across? So it's important to buy tools that allow those silos to be broken down and for you to organize everything in a way that can be readable and actionable. That's true about anything. Like, you can get all the data in the world, but if it's not actionable and helping you reach your goals, like, what is it doing? And the last thing here is use data to drive marketing decisions. Again, it's like, no joke. Like, that's what we're talking about, right? But it's, again, what I want to emphasize here is you don't just use data in the planning and reporting phase. You have to use an implementation. It's important to use data in that whole process to truly get to the results that you want. Okay, we have made it to the last chapter here that we're going to talk about today, and that is strategy and performance. And this is kind of a catch-all. So we've talked about the media, we've talked about the data that kind of informs how we place that media, and now this is kind of a catch-all of strategy and performance that, again, hopefully you're going to be able to find some nuggets in here that you can take back and help with your day-to-day as a DMO marketer. So the first is always on paid media campaigns. So we asked, like, when you're looking at your paid media, what's your strategy? Is it always on? Is it seasonal? Is it ad hoc? Or do you even do paid media? So you can see on the right side is the breakdown of these numbers. It kind of breaks down that always on is 55% or more of the DMOs that were surveyed. And when asked about like why you have an always on strategy, 33, they said those DMOs that answer that way said it's a 33% lower cost per action seen in the US destination running always on campaigns. And the reason for that is because planning happens throughout the year, and you can't just hone on and maybe if I hit this person right now, it's going to influence their decision. Each person has their own way about going in that. So you need always on campaigns that kind of allow yourself to hit those people at the right times. So always on is the key. That's what the goal is. And then looking at if it's always on, where are you in that marketing funnel of always on? 70% of DMOs said that they invest in full funnel marketing campaigns. So that's from inspiration to mid funnel, more information to the bottom, conversion, getting someone to your destination and ultimately spending money. Full funnel campaigns are essential to show true economic impact. Again, when you're just focused on one side of that marketing funnel, just the inspirational stage, how are you tracking that to the bottom of the funnel and showing that what you're doing from a marketing perspective is really getting to the results that you want from an economic impact perspective? So if you're asked of, we've talked about, you got full funnel. If you don't do full funnel, we're asking, so 70% do full funnel. Of the 30% that don't, what do they do? And it's stage specific marketing actions. And that's what they kind of look at. Like, how do we break down top of funnel, mid funnel, in conversion, post trip? And you can see the kind of numbers broken down. So obviously most of it is concentrated in that upper funnel, again, to create brand awareness, and then drive them down to the lower funnels where they ultimately convert. So taking a full funnel approach really does kind of goes back to what I said previously, is it helps DMOs reach the largest amount of audience at the right time in the right format to ultimately influence their travel decision and make you part of their next trip. Okay, so if we're looking at, again, this is kind of connected. This is how I connected it is if they're always on, the goal is to be always on in full funnel. But if you can't for that reason, you'd wonder why. I know a bunch of DMO marketers who are listening to this right now is like, yeah, if I had unlimited budget, I would do both of those things. Like, so the reality is we don't always have all the budget to do all the things. So how can we bridge that gap? And that's where co-op marketing comes in. And this comes straight from the survey. When asked about co-op marketing, 8 in 10 DMOs invest in co-op marketing. That's even skewed a little bit higher here in the US. So what does co-op marketing do? Why do people do this? It allows partners to work together to invest in bigger campaigns and really full scale end-to-end marketing budget campaigns. And it also helps resort constraint tourism businesses kind of tap into larger budgets. Again, if you're giving this much, I'm giving this much, we're both getting this much, rising tides lifts all ships. That's what the goal of co-op marketing is. So co-op marketers, kind of going deeper into co-op. So why do DMOs do or do not invest in co-ops? And I'm kind of going to break it down here on the right side is the top reasons for running a co-op marketing campaign. 58% said increase overall marketing budget. It makes total sense. You reach a wider audience with that larger budget, and you actually share the cost. So you're reaching more people in a better way, and you're paying less for it. So all great reasons. So why doesn't everyone do co-ops? Why isn't it 100%? And that kind of brings us to the bottom section here, and I'll start from the bottom, make my way up. So the top reasons for never having run a co-op, 16% said lack of awareness or know-how. So let's flip that though. So that means 84% know how to do it. So that's not a barrier to entry. 21% said unable to get private sector funding. So again, flipping that means 79% can get private sector funding. So again, nothing that I would say that's a barrier to entry. It's this last one. And when we were fielding this study, I was making guesses of like what this number was going to come out. I honestly said it's going to be above 90%, but I think people were being a little nicer in this, but 51%. So this is truly the only reason for a barrier to entry is it's difficult coordinating and managing the programs. You DMO marketers have so many jobs and so many hats that you have to wear in your organizations. And, running co-op campaigns is usually just a very small piece of it. But if you run a co-op campaign, you know that small piece can become the largest piece of the pie. And that's truly not what your goal is from a co-op campaign. Your goal of a co-op campaign is to share costs, reach more people, and reach them in a better way. And you're helping everyone within your organization, within your destination. So truly it becomes now, when you're looking at co-ops, is how can you organize them that allow less work on your plate and allow for a greater impact from a marketing perspective. And again, each one has to find their own niche, but my solution here for you guys would be to lean into your vendors and your partners. It is their job to help you come up with custom solutions. It's their job to help take work off your plate, and it's their job to help drive more travelers to your destination. So lean on them. That's what they're there for. And okay, just to wrap up this last section here, for the key takeaways is, first is go full funnel. We kind of talked about this, but going full funnel allows you to reach the greatest audience, reach the right person at the right time in the right format to drive the results that you want. The second is choose co-ops. Again, we kind of went into this. Make the most out of your marketing plans. Make the most. If you're resource constrained, if you feel like you're not always on or you're not hitting the full funnel, look into co-ops and how you can solve that. And again, lean on your partners to help you do that. And then the last one is experiment with new tech and platforms. We talked about this in the previous section of how you can do that within your own budget, but you also need to understand that that's what's so great about this space and about digital marketing is it changes every day. There's new things, new products, new companies that come up with new ways for you to reach people and ultimately influence them to come to your destination. So definitely keep your ears open, and always, like I've always said, I think if there's a key takeaway from all this is lean on your vendors. They're there for a reason. You pay them for a reason. Make them do the work that you're paying them to do. So with that, we have reached the end of this. Here is the QR code to download the full survey. It's free. I believe it's about 50 pages or so. You take the title pages out, it's about 40, but there's so much great content in there. Again, I can only cover some highlights that we brought out and then I see from a day-to-day perspective, but there's a lot of great content. So please download that and let us know, if it was worth it or not. And then lastly, thank you so much for taking your time and listening to this today. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something. If there's anything that I said that you agreed with or maybe disagreed with or want further explanation, please, there's my email. Please reach out. I'd be more than happy to do that. And with that, I will kind of pass it back.
Hey, Seth, thank you so much. Of course, I learned a million things, as I always do when I hear you walk through data like this. So appreciate it. As Seth mentioned, this report is on the website. We've also got a ton of other great resources there. You can check out travel insights. We've got a ton of other reports, great blogs. So please use Sojern.com to stay up to date on all things digital marketing for destinations, attractions, hotels, We're here to support you. Like Seth said, please reach out with questions anytime so we can really drill down to the specifics for your market and your organization and help you solve those problems. And with that, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.